You think in 21 years from now, we're not going to be at $21 million a coin. We'll be at some infinite dollar denominated value because we'll have hyperinflated and we'll be on a Bitcoin standard?
I don't know about hyperinflated. I just think that we will start pricing things gradually side by side, and the one price will be going up and the other price will be going down. Like, so, you know, in British Columbia, it was 600 Bitcoin for a house 10 years ago, and now it's 6.
Yeah.
And like, that idea is not that complicated. When I tell people, it like stuns them,
Totally.
but it's like, so it's just like, and then this is where I'm not actually like a medium of exchange bull. I don't think it matters.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And so they'll figure out, if they want the dollar to survive, they're going to try to figure out some way to peg it, whatever.
To Bitcoin.
I
feel like Bitcoin's going to extend the life of the dollar, and it's going to reduce inflation in all sectors of the marketplace except for Bitcoin. Maybe equities, but I think housing's not going to appreciate as fast. Equities aren't going to appreciate as fast. So you're going to see all this debasement find its way into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And then additionally, if you think about the idea of blocks and you look at the whole global monetary system, you have this debt-based currency where the monetary units are being lent into existence as debt against assets. So you could just basically say, here's all the debt in the world, and here's this basket of assets that collateralizes the debt. Every one of these assets is struggling from entropy and all sorts of different versions. We're increasing the supply of all of them. Treasuries, equities, gold, real estate, all of that. We're increasing the supply of them. So we're actually diluting their value. Yeah. But we have to continue to debase. The more we innovate, the faster we're diluting the value of the basket of assets that collateralize the debt.
Yeah.
So then they have to print more money to prop up that asset value. It has to be a higher nominal value than whatever the debt is.
Yeah.
But in real terms, we're pushing the value of this stuff down, requiring more debasement. But if Bitcoin enters that basket of assets that collateralize the debt, unless globally that balance sheet was rebalanced and they were selling down the Bitcoin and buying treasuries or whatever, it'll become a larger percentage of what's collateralizing the debt.
Yeah.
As that happens, because even though we're increasing the supply of Bitcoin, we're increasing the supply of Bitcoin at a slower rate than we're increasing the supply of everything else. In theory, the debasement required to keep the system solvent decreases. It's like we were at a 1-to-1 peg, gold, dollar, or certificate, gold-backed certificate, completely detached in 1971. I actually see it reattaching on a hard money standard, but to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And as we go through that process, the debasement required to keep the system solvent decreases. And the debasement that is required to keep the system solvent hurts less people because it is not further monetizing things like housing that people need to exist. So if Bitcoin was $10 million tomorrow, that's not a problem for anybody. Yeah. But if housing went up 100% overnight, that's a big problem.
The only thing I think is like the difference is that like the dollar kind of becomes like a third nipple because you can actually spend Bitcoin, and the Lightning Network can absolutely handle all of the transactional flow of the entire world. Mm-hmm. So like, what do you actually need dollars for? I kind of think it's like, you know, my take as an outsider is that there's a predisposition generally from American Bitcoiners to imagine a world where the dollar exists maybe longer, because this is just a natural part of like, we all want to kind of imagine the future as in a comfortable way, in a way that reminds us of like how things are now. But like, you know, I'm living in an accelerating currency failure state. And so I think like having been in Australia recently, it's like everywhere else, like, so for 99% of my life, there was basically no discernible difference living in Canada and living in the United States. And now that's changed, and like our money is collapsing, and or collapsing much faster than yours is. And so for me, I think that personal lived now experience now is like, I have a hard time seeing how any of these currencies are going to withstand this escalating problem of life getting harder and harder. Mm. And like to Robert's point, like we're just living actually also through what might still be the early stages of like real virality of ideas. You know, like TikTok's only 5 years old or however old it is. And there would be some tool that comes after TikTok, you know, where like, wait till people get Neuralink. We're going to be fucking one brain.
Bonkers land at that point.
Dude, that stuff wouldn't bother me if it was open source. If Neuralink and all this shit was open source, I'd be less perturbed by it.
Maybe it will be. Who knows?
Yeah, there's...
I will...
the reverse engineering, like we see a lot with LLMs, like the DeepSeek moment that you get all this investment into ChatGPT and then a company comes along for 1/1000th of that cost and replicates it at feature parity.
Yeah.
Probably do that with Neuralink and stuff too.
I can see that.
These things will come out and they'll work and then someone's going to grab it and be like, oh, we can reverse this thing and strip out all that proprietary margin and just run it open source.
Yeah. So many of these ideas around like the dollar, I think it's like basically are just underpinned by like this feeling of like, it has to be this way because it's always been that way.
Exactly. The inertia.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to jump deeper on that Tartaria hook, dude.
I know.
You left me hanging. Now I'm the idiot who's going to get shit on in the comments.
I left you hanging there a little bit.
That's all good. I don't care. I have Bitcoin. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I'm trying to balance the super out there stuff with like.
It's just so fascinating to me. It really makes me, you know, I like first time I saw anything about it was probably like 5 or 6, 7 years ago. And just the more I'm exposed to, the more I think about it, it breaks the brain. But I still like, I was standing at the cathedral in Prague with a couple of my buddies at, you know, Bitcoin Prague last year. And I'm just like, people living in fucking shacks or whatever.
Dumping their shit out of a window.
They did not fucking build this stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
give a. I'll just say it. I don't fucking believe it. But I don't believe it. And maybe I'm fucked in the head. But
so let's jump in at Tartaria.
Tartaria.
I think actually on the outline we've kind of hit almost everything that I've seen, other than money as a memory, money as a mirror. I have thought about that too. Money is such a trippy thing because it does all these time things, it does these energy things, does these information things and price signals, but it also acts as a form of memory in a way. Like again, if it's honest money, you have this social memory of who did what useful work, like who solved problems for other people historically profitably.
And the original, like the very original form of money were clay tablets from Sumeria that were actual pictorial recordings of stuff people did.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So you're getting that. What are you getting here? A semantic memory of things that were done episodically across time. And then, you know, the guy that's got the money, it's like, well, he's rich. The richness almost implies virtuosity because like he solved a lot of problems and intelligence because he did it profitably.
Yeah. I mean, and so then the future version of this, which is so cool, is that Bitcoin really is also capturing that information in a linear fashion.
Yeah.
Like, so we don't have a way to accurately distill that information today, but we might in the future.
So that time chain element will make our documenting of history more clear.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it makes a continuous record of human activity possible. So this way, you know, it's a monetary technology, it's an energy technology, it's an information technology, like you said at the outset, and it combines these things, and we're still really just talking about like how much the price is going to go up.
Yeah. And I think there's two different aspects here that we're relating to. So like one is like money as memory, which is, again, you see someone that has a lot of purchasing power. It's basically the stored social memory of that guy solved a lot of problems for other people profitably. But then there's this other thing Bitcoin's doing, which you just talked about, the time chain. You know, you can write data to this thing or anchor data to it, and then you get like digital permanence. You know, you get videos and photos and all this other distributed digital data, but it's written to this thing that can't be corrupted or censored or amended. Then you might get like a you know, I don't know how far this goes, but like if the whole world becomes much more surveyed, as I would say is a reasonable expectation, then all of that somehow gets written or anchored into Bitcoin in a way that it can't be censored, reversed, amended, all these things. And you get like this, we might have like permanent digital history. where it's like, you don't need to wonder, what your great grandpa was doing. You just look it up on the damn thing and there it is.
Or have questions of like, wait, history is obviously written by the winners.
Yes.
So you're not going to be asking yourself like, hey, did this actually happen that way?
Yeah.
And then if you combine it with Neuralink-like technologies and people are just like streaming their actual raw consciousness to some digital format and it's being stored permanently on Bitcoin stock, it's like, what is that? It gets so sci-fi bananas really quick.
Yeah, I mean, and we have hieroglyphs on pyramids. I mean, the beauty of this thing is that because we don't actually have to physically maintain it in the real world, it can endure forever.
Right.